Good evening, everyone. My name is Tawana Wilson, and I serve as Department Chair for our Counseling Department. And we are glad that you are here for our Junior Parent Night. We have a jam-packed agenda for you, so we're going to move quickly through this. Please note that we will have an opportunity for questions at the end, and this presentation is being recorded that will be available to you in the next week or so. And all of our resources that we share tonight will also all be available on our counseling tile on My Bellarmine. Tonight we're going to go over the admissions process. We're going to talk about a little bit about where your juniors should be right now in that process, how they should be utilizing Naviance, testing information, scholarship information, and then additional resources on how to navigate this next part of their year. Just a little bit about the counseling department and how we support your student. Our mission is to walk alongside you and your student. We help your student understand what is needed of them and how to best transition from high school into their post-secondary plans. We want them to be able to navigate this process, and so we ask them to be the driver of this process. We also are here to help you transition from being the manager of your student to the consultant and allowing them to take the driver's seat. We here believe that we are helping our students find their best fit. So we work to match them to find that. And then we are here to support you however you need us to be. And so we are available to you, and we will respond to you and support you in a timely manner. So you can reach out to us via phone, email, or come see us in person and set up an appointment whenever you need. Okay, so to get us started and to talk about navigating the college admission process, I would like you to please help me welcome Claire Silva. She's the Associate Director of Admissions at Gonzaga University.
Thank you, Mom. Good evening, everybody. My name is Claire Silva again. Just really grateful to be here tonight. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy lives and busy schedules to come and just learn more. Again, I'm at Gonzaga University. I've been at Gonzaga for in admissions for close to 20 years. And so I've worked with Bellarmine families for many years, and just so love being a part of your community in the way that I get to be, and getting to work with your counselors and so many students. But I want to start this. I'm not here necessarily on behalf of Gonzaga, just generally to helping navigate the admissions process, and just let you know that we're in this together. You have incredible counselors. All of the colleges and universities have admission professionals and representatives for your school, and knowing that we are here to support you through this process, and never want you all to be thinking like, oh, what should I do? Like, ask. We really, really want our families and students to reach out to us for wherever your students are, wherever they're going. Where do you play a part in this process? Really, guidance from a trusted adult. Like Tawana's prayer, I think, really opened it up really well, and caring for and wanting the best for our students. But just being there, asking the questions that they might not ask, and really considering, is the schools and the places that they're looking having what they offer? Like, some student might, one of your student may be, I want to go to this school that has a really cool like club that I heard about. One of my friends told me about. But they might not have a major that your student is looking for. So keeping those types of things in mind as you are supporting your student through this process. Another thing that especially can be helpful in junior year is signing up for virtual visits if you want to just get a little taste of things that are happening. One of the impacts of COVID is that all of the universities really have continue to offer some of those opportunities, whether that's a virtual campus tour or a virtual information session, getting those online opportunities to help find that interest if taking a visit is the next step, if you find interest in those virtual programming events. Just to get started, those are really low-hanging fruit and easy to do. And then, of course, once you get further along the road, those nitty-gritty questions on financial aid and scholarships really will be an important part of the decision-making process down the road. As well as, like, the one that will come up more sooner than later is the test optional or taking SAT and ACTs, and preparing for those as you're considering the schools your student will be applying to. Okay, I added this slide from previous years. I think this process can be overwhelming, it can be stressful, it can be exciting and fun, but knowing that there are many colleges out there and we say yes a lot more than we say no. The national four-year acceptance rate is around 73%. Public school a little higher, private schools a little lower. So there's some amazing options that you have in Washington State, outside of, obviously in the country, internationally as well. And knowing that colleges, we want your students, and we need your students. And so it's very easy to look up college acceptance rates. Yes, there are colleges that have very, very, very competitive acceptance rates, but know that the majority of them are quite high. Okay, as you go through this process and start to figure out where students will be applying to and keeping track of how your students are doing in school, when we evaluate students for admission, we look at a set of criteria that, and this is what we call our holistic review process. Every college will have a different way that they maybe say this, terminologies that they'll use, but in general, these are the types of things that we are looking at when we evaluate your student for admission. So very much so, especially for us, I'd say a lot of schools is the strength of curriculum. You have incredible options here at Bellarmine for the coursework that you take that is offered with AP courses and the dual enrollment concurrent credit. I'm not sure exactly. I can't remember the exact term you all use, but just knowing that the strength of curriculum it tells us how students are preparing for the rigor of college coursework. And that we very much so value the college prep work, especially college coursework that's offered here at Bellarmine. Quality of writing within the application. So some schools will require writing samples or an essay, short answers, multiple essays. If we ask for it, we hope that your student puts time into the application and those essays and writing samples. You'd be very surprised to see how many students submit an application with very quick, brief writing, lowercase i's, those types of things. So we care if we're asking for it, we care, and we hope that it shows that the student cares if they are putting the time into the writing within the application in general. GPA and grade trends, we prefer an upward or a steady grade trend compared to a downward grade trend. That being said, in a holistic review process, we are able to look at context. Maybe something happened in sophomore year, there was a concussion and missed some classes. So all of those things, we recognize that life happens, and with the holistic review process, that gives us the ability to dig in and learn a bit more. So there are opportunities, and there are different types of applications, but there are opportunities to include that type of information. So the schools that your students are really interested in providing that additional context, if there is an extra context that we need to know about, can be incredibly helpful as we make our decisions. Activities and honors, what students are involved in their school, in their communities. I'll talk more of this on my next slide, but we want to know what your students involved in and what types of things they will bring to our communities. And then test scores. I'm going to start with letters of rank. Some schools will require them, some won't. If we ask for them, yes, they are important. We do read them. And then test scores is another thing. And I guess I'll say with letters of recommendation, one of the things that really helps us with is we're looking at character and how the student is in their community. And then test scores. There are schools that require them, there are schools that don't. So just working with your counselor, as you're building your list, keeping a column of your list as you're navigating the process, like this one requires it, this one's test optional, and we will dig more into that today. Okay, this slide's crazy, and I think it's meant to be that. There is a lot of pressure on students in general, and then you add the college application process to it. This is not necessarily an exhaustive list, but this is overwhelming, and know that there's not one size fits all that we're looking for. You don't have to check every single box, and you gotta do this and this and this and this to have the most competitive college application process. We're looking for students with balance. We want our students to be healthy in school and in life and have opportunities to experience things, but obviously to not overload to where maybe the GPA is going to dip or you're just going to be at your max. So I think helping your students recognize that it's okay to not be in every single little thing. And also to keep track of the little things that you're doing. Like we see some really unique things on applications. Like this year I read actually several students who've had their own haircutting business. They talk about the high taper fade and how, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So they're an entrepreneur, or students who've, you know, got a little pickup truck and started building it with their buddy or their dad. So little things. It doesn't have to. Really, I think students can pick things that they're really interested in, and we value those things too. It doesn't have to be the stereotypical this, and check it off the box. But we are going to look for students from all backgrounds and with a variety of different interests, and just helping your students remember what makes them stand out as they're building, keeping that list in their resume for what they're going to put on their college application. Okay, this is a slide gives you a sense of the different types of admission processes, and the two primary types of admission deadlines are rolling admission and deadline-based admission. So rolling admission is essentially applications come in, the colleges will review them, and you'll get a decision back within a couple weeks, usually 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the time of year. And then deadline-based admission means that we gather all the applications at once, and then we evaluate students kind of in the same kind of pool, and then send them out. It depends on a lot of that depends on how many applications the university receives. So knowing that if you have a school that you apply rolling, it doesn't mean that school wants you more just because they got back to you sooner. It just means that that's our process. Types of admission deadlines: early action, and early decision, and regular decision. This was the one that you need to really keep an eye out for is early decision. That one is a binding decision process. Those of you that have had students go through this process already are likely familiar with those terms. But applying early decision means that is the school that your student will go to and wants to go to if they are admitted, because they have to let the school know early, typically January, February, if they're deciding to go to that school. And they typically ask that you don't apply to other universities if you are applying early decision to another university. Early action is typically non-binding, meaning you can apply to all schools, but you hear back early. That can make life a lot easier. If you apply early action to universities, you'll hear back usually in like December on those. Types of college applications. This one, I think, planning ahead and looking at types of applications can really make life a lot easier. So these are just a sample of a few of them. There's the university applications, so those are the applications that live on the university pages. Sometimes you can apply on those university pages for free, and so that's an enticing factor for applying on university websites. There's also the coalition application. That's one that you will see, and some colleges use that throughout the country. The common application, there's around over 1,000 colleges and applications that use the common application. You fill out one application and you can submit it to all schools. So just keeping track of what schools use and trying to get utilize the application that you can apply in most schools can be helpful sometimes. And then just knowing, I think, keeping track of when admission decisions are sent can be helpful and lower the anxiety. We get a lot of questions like, when are we going to hear back? When are we going to hear back? And every school might have a slightly different timeline. So helping manage that can be helpful. And typically May 1st of senior year is far off, but that is typically the decision deadline for when colleges request that students and let us know if they are coming. Okay, these are some questions that we typically get asked, and I'll just kind of go through them. So does a school super score? Super score means that if your student takes the SAT or ACT, there are different subsections within the SAT and the ACT. So if your student takes the SAT twice, we will take the best evidence-based reading and writing and a best math section and combine them and give them the best super score. Some colleges will just super score the SAT, but not the ACT, or some schools will do both or not at all. So just keeping track of that as you go through the process. Are teacher recommendations important? I already referenced this. If we ask for them, yes, they are important. And if a school is test optional, should a student still submit? this question can be tricky. And I think that it can depend on a lot of different things. It can depend on the school. It can depend on a program, an academic program. Sometimes schools will say, well, if I'm applying to the nursing program, should I submit my scores? I think that the best answer to this is you would want to talk to your admission counselor at those universities. For us at Gonzaga, I will say we are test optional. We don't need the test scores for any of our programs, and we were moving away from using test scores years ago. And so I would say for us, I would say reach out to me if you're having questions. Most of the schools will list their middle 50% of what students are submitting. So looking at their websites to see what those are, and that can be a good guideline of if your students should submit them or not. But most of the time, if your student has a good GPA or a solid GPA with good classes that they're taking, they likely won't need the SAT or ACT. And then is it better to take AP or honors and get a lower GPA than get a higher GPA and take all the main level classes? We get this question a lot. For us, the first thing I mentioned when we talked about holistic review is that strength of curriculum is so valuable to us. So yes, I think taking those AP and honors courses we value, and balance. I talked about that too, not overextending to where students will completely plummet their GPA, but if they can manage it, fantastic. And that really will prepare students for the rigors of college courses. So we do really value students taking those courses, and maybe they took that calc class but they got a B. That's okay. We know calc is hard. So we will look at that. And then, is it okay to use AI in the college essay? I think this will also vary depending on what colleges you're applying to or what their process or policy is. We know students are utilizing AI, and there is something that students have to apply or sign when they submit their application, and it says, this is my own work. So no, you can't have AI do your essay. But we know that students are utilizing it as a tool. And we recognize that is something that is likely going to be used in the future for students as they go into their career and whatnot. So we say that, we hope that students, if they are using it in that way, it's as a tool, and it's obviously not writing the whole thing for them. But there are different schools will have very stringent policies on that, and if they will put essays through the AI trackers to see if they're utilizing that. So it does vary, especially since everything is so new right now. So, okay, looking ahead, almost done. More joy, less angst. This process I mentioned is a lot, and just recognizing that the path to college or college and university, there's so many exciting things that may come. And I already talked about the acceptance rates and percentages, that there's so many exciting things that come along with the adventure that college is, but helping that process have joy as well as when you go through it. Start creating that college list, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Visit campus, virtual visits, connecting, showing interest. This is something that it's becoming more prevalent in college admissions, is showing interest in universities. When a student engages and a family engages with us, it really does give us, more information about your student, like what types of things the student might like. That helps us be able to say, this is what we offer at our school that may help your student and may be a reason that you might want to consider it. But it also does help us, if your student is really interested in a university, yes, engage with that university. If you can schedule a visit, if you can do an admission interview, fantastic. If you're emailing with the admission rep, that's great. Ask questions, those types of things. I think mainly the biggest reason to connect is to see if there are opportunities for you. For me, I wish that I would have connected with my counselor in college, because I probably would have known about more scholarships that I could have applied to, but I didn't because I was nervous. I don't want to bother them, but we appreciate it. And then, starting the apps in the summer. The common application opens in August, so at least start an account, get it open, and check out, get the basic information filled out so it's a less daunting process as we go. So, I'm here, my card's on the table. Please let me know if you need anything. I am around Bellarmine quite often in the fall and the spring. So thank you for the time and appreciate it.
Thank you to Claire. She is such a support of our community. And we work really hard to bring you guys the most relevant, up-to-date information, especially in college admissions, because we know it's always changing and evolving. And so thank you, Claire, for being here so you guys can hear it directly from somebody who lives and breathes this work and is actually one of the people who are reading your students' college applications when they are considering Gonzaga. Thankfully this year, Claire actually came and did interview days for students who were thinking about Gonzaga University, and so that was a blessing to have her here. So again, if you can give her a round of applause, thank you, Julie. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about Naviance. Hopefully that is not a new word to you, because we use that word a lot here. All right, Naviance is our college search engine and our college application tool that we have utilized here at Bellarmine for a number of years. Your students were first introduced to it freshman year, and each year after that we have assigned them different tasks and duties that they should be completing to help them be abreast of their strengths, how to navigate college search tools, and how to be ready for this chapter in their lives. So at this point, your student should have logged into Naviance. Additionally to you, if you have not been on there, you have access to this as well. If that's something you would still like to utilize, please just reach out to your counselor and we can get you a login. But you can mirror and see everything that your student is doing on Naviance. You can also get on there and play around and start searching schools and looking at different programs and helping them on this journey. And so, again, at this point, they have taken several assessments. Similar to like a personality test, they have completed a career interest profile and a strength assessment. This will help them to start identifying different career paths based on their strengths and interests that align to maybe things they've already considered or maybe some new opportunities that they hadn't considered. And it's really cool because it gives them a whole breakdown of these different career paths, additional information about what it takes to achieve that career, and as well as salary information too, so that they can be abreast on what they need if they wanted to pursue that path. Additionally, we've also showed them tools like a resume builder, so they can start tracking their different activities that they've been doing since freshman year in preparation to start applying for interviews, job shadowing opportunities, or even a job. And then additionally, they know how to look at scholarship opportunities as well as our college visits on Naviance in preparation for senior year. Juniors also have the option to attend college visits in the fall. We have over 100 colleges that come, admission reps that are bringing information directly to your students and are often the ones who are reading their college applications. And so at this point, looking ahead, spring assignments, for counselors, we need them to do the following tasks. We have a required junior meeting that we do with all of our juniors. We meet with each and every one of our students with their assigned counselor. During this meeting, we're checking in with them. We're getting ready for these conversations. We're asking the questions. What are you considering? What does next steps look like for you? What colleges have you checked out? What careers have you considered? And really starting that conversation in preparation for their summer duties so that they will come back ready and prepared for senior year. Additionally, we are asking them in the spring to reach out to at least one teacher as a recommender. We ask that that teacher be a core teacher, so someone from one of their core classes, math, science, English, social studies, and then they are doing this preferably in person. We want this to be something that they take on, that they go and meet with that teacher and really impress upon them why they are thinking about that teacher as the best person to write their letter of rec. And then thirdly, we want them to complete their brag sheet and their counselor brag sheet. This is something that they're going to complete for both their teacher, who is completing their letter of rec, and as well as the counselor. These are two separate documents, so we want them to complete both. The teacher brag sheet focuses on their experiences in the classroom and their experiences with that teacher or that subject. The counselor brag sheet is something that goes a little bit more in depth. We want to know about their whole experience in high school, and it's also an opportunity for us to talk about or discuss anything that might explain any gaps or struggles or concerns that we want to express in our letter that talks about a whole view of your student. Okay, so not just academic, their whole experience. Okay? And then second, now's the time. If your student has not, it's time to start researching colleges, okay? And Naviance is a great tool for that. Additionally, there's also the collegetour.com where they can explore the over 3,500 colleges that are in our country, all right? So getting beyond just the big names that we typically think about and really starting to pinpoint schools that are going to be that best fit. What program do they have? Location, price. How is that going to be a school that's going to be a good fit for your student? And then in Naviance, they also have the option of favoriting those schools. And so if they find a school that they like, they checked out, it feels like it's going to be something they want to continue to pursue and do a little bit more research, they can favorite that school, and then it becomes a part of their list of schools that they are considering. And then that will help them senior year when they get ready to transfer that list into the schools that they are actually applying to. Okay? Ideally, we want our students to leave here at the end of junior year with at least 6 to 8 schools that they've already vetted, checked out, and are strongly considering. And then thirdly, this is an opportunity, like Claire said, to start visiting schools. We're not saying you have to go and book a ticket now to go across country and see NYU in person, all right? But there are tons of schools here just in our state that you can go and see in person. And ideally, you want to see those schools while they're in session, so you can get a vibe, you can get a feeling, your student can see kids in classes and take tours when students are on campus. And that best happens now until the end of the year versus in the summer, okay? All right, and then like I mentioned, that starting their final list. We do encourage our students to have 6 to 8 schools, one of those schools being an in-state school, one of those being a safety school, 1 to 2 target schools, so just based on GPA and basic test scores and logistics, they are a good fit for that school. And then 1 to 2 reach schools. That it's their dream school, they would love to go in there. Maybe they have the GPA requirements on paper that that school is looking for, but we know that school is just a highly selective school, okay? So we want to be realistic about that, okay? All right, so summer before senior year. That brag sheet needs to be completed, like I talked about. That's one for the teacher and one for the counselor. This is extremely important, okay, because this is going to help us tailor our letters of rec for your student that is specific to them and not just a general letter. We want that letter to stand out. We want it to highlight them. We want it to shine, but we also need the information, okay? And so that's their way to give us that information. I know a lot of times for myself, I take direct quotes from that information that they share with me. All right, and then it's also an opportunity for us to expand upon in our senior meeting information that they share in those brag sheets, okay, so that we talk further, okay? This brag sheet is not viewed by colleges, it is just for your teacher and for your counselor. We're the only ones who will see it, it will not be shared with anyone else. And so please encourage your students to be as outright and as honest as they can, because we really do value that information. And so again, that needs to be completed by the end of this year going into the summer. And it's helpful if they have those done, because the sooner they get that to us, especially their teachers, they can start working on those letters over the summer and have those ready. And so for those students who are considering early action, having those pieces together earlier will help make that transition and that process smoother when the fall comes for senior year. All right, and then next, the application plan. This is something that we really press upon our students to have prepared for us senior year when they do their senior meeting. This is where they're going to list those 6 to 8 schools that they have identified as their schools that they want to apply to. It allows them to go a little bit more in depth and know what they need to apply to that school. So on that form, it's going to ask them to rank that school. So what's their number 1 school, what's their second choice, and go on from there. It's going to have them put down whether that's a reach school, a target school, so that they, and we know they understand that information, what that school requires, so numbers of essays, if that school requires test scores or not, if it's a Common App school, if they require a financial aid form, all that information is going to be laid out on that application plan. So your student and we know what they need to complete that application. okay? And all that information nicely is available in Naviance. So if your student researches the school, they can find all that information there, okay? But that is a requirement for them to schedule their senior meeting, is to have the application plan done. All right, and then lastly, we're gonna ask them to link their Common App. The Common App is a most utilized tool for college applications. Most of your students will utilize the Common App to apply to their schools. The Common App is an application tool where you can list up to 20 schools on there and apply to all those 20 schools with that one application, okay? It will allow your students to do a lot of upfront work, so they're gonna do all their information courses, they're gonna put in all their detailed demographic information, everything up front, and then they'll do the specific information needed for those individual schools. But when they are ready, they're able to just submit through that application platform, okay? Pay the fee and hit submit. So it's really useful for students who are applying to multiple schools if it's on the Common App. Most students will utilize the Common App and then probably a UC app if they're applying to schools in California, because those schools are not found on the Common App, okay? And then they're gonna complete the FERPA waiver. That's just waiving their right to see their letters. Okay, so sometimes that comes up, well, what is the FERPA? That's just saying that we do not allow our students to see their letters of rec. That means they are unbiased letters. They didn't have any say in them. They didn't tell us what to say. So they are impartial letters. Okay, so that they're waiving their right to say the letters. And then they'll click connect to Naviance. And then Naviance and the Common App will actually work together. So all the documents that we're sending through Naviance will match up to the application that they're sending through Common App. All right? So that's how those systems all work together. All right, so please know that was a lot of information. We will reiterate it again. If you attend our Rising Senior Night or our Senior Parent Night, we will talk about those steps again. And again, this presentation is recorded, so you can go back and learn more about it. But that's typically our steps for Naviance and how we address the college application season. Okay, so that's how you can help your student get ready now so that they can prepare senior year coming in. Okay, because it's fast and quick. They get here, they start at the end of August, and we're seeing application deadlines moving up more and more. This year, we had more students than ever applying to October 15th deadlines. Okay, so that means they needed to come in knowing where they were going and how they were applying from day one. All right, so please utilize the summer to get ready. All right, another program that I'm excited about, I want to highlight real quick, and you guys have probably seen communication and information about this, but it's our direct and guaranteed program that we have adopted here at Bellarmine. We're seeing a growing opportunity across the nation that more and more states are adopting. But this is an opportunity for students to be pre-qualified for admissions, okay? So it's saving you an application fee, it's saving them an application, it's letting our students know earlier whether they are pre-qualified for a school. And so currently we have partnerships with this list of schools for direct admission and the following state schools for guaranteed admission. And so what this means to you and your student is that next year, you guys will provide consent saying that we have consent to provide your demographics, basic information that would already be included on the application, contact information, email addresses, GPA. We provide that to the school on your behalf. The schools then do vet that information, and then they will offer your student a pre-qualifying admission offer, okay? Without your student having to complete an application at all. All right, and so what that means for your student is that they will receive something in the mail saying, hey, you have been pre-qualified for admission to Pacific Lutheran University. And then it will take them through steps to how they can confirm that admission offer if they would like, or they can continue to consider other offers, okay? So it doesn't commit them to the application, it just gives them the offer of admission, okay? Yes, and I'm gonna get to that next, all right? So that's just kind of how the process works. This is just for general admission. It does not include any special programs. So if a student is thinking about an honors college or a nursing program, they'll still have to complete the steps through that school's application system, okay? This is nice for our students, especially for our students, for some of these schools are their target schools. So that means early November, they would already know that they have admission offers to a lot of these schools. It might save them the whole application process. I know one of our students this year got into Wazoo ahead of time, ahead of the application, and that was her target school, so she was done. She said, yes, I want your offer, and she was done. So it's a nice opportunity for our students, and it can save them a lot of time and money in the future, all right? So the question was, are there GPA requirements? There are, okay? So just eligibility, you don't have to do an application. There's no obligation to accept. It just lets you know that you have an offer if you so choose. The benefits are early college acceptance, early access to financial aid and priority housing, because you can accept early, and so you can start that process early, and then reduce stress with that acceptance offer. Eligibility requirements. It has to be a minimum of a 3.0 GPA for all those state schools, and then a 3.3 minimum GPA requirement for PLU, Portland, and Seattle Pacific. Okay. And then, like I said, you guys will all be opted in through your new year enrollment process. If there is anybody who is thinking that they do not want to be a part of this process, then there are steps to opt out, and you would need to complete the form, and then we would not send your students information for this program. All right? Okay, great. All right, next up, I would like to welcome Mrs. Keene to talk about testing.
All right, well, good evening. We have such a great turnout. I don't know that we've ever seen this many in here at one time for a junior parent night, so thank you. We really sincerely appreciate you being here. We're going to focus on the admission trends regarding testing now. So how to decide whether to submit scores and the tools available to help you make an informed decision. So I want to begin by grounding us in the current admissions data here on the screen. This fall in 2025, test submissions increased slightly. So about 54% of applicants submitted test scores and 46% chose not to. Now we don't know the outcomes of these this year's applicants. However, when we look at last year's, among those that submitted test scores, it was 50% who were accepted. So what this tells us is that colleges are truly operating with a test optional landscape, as Claire hit on. Submitting scores can help some students, but it's not necessary for all. So only about 5% of colleges require a score. So fairtest.org is a great website and resource for us all. So over 2,000 colleges and universities are test optional now, and more than 75 are test free. And that means for your students in 2026, that information. And this is why it's so important to check each college individually. There's not one size that fits all for an answer. The right decision is going to depend on your student and the strength of their overall application, as well as the school. So, should I submit my test scores? This is one of the most common questions we receive, and the answer depends on the context. We look at the student's academic GPA, the college's testing policy, and how the score compares to the middle 50% of admitted students. So if the score strengthens the application, we submit it. And if it does not, in test optional situations, it allows the students to lean on their coursework, the grades, the extracurriculars, essays, and the recommendations. This is a strategic decision, of course, made after looking at the data. So we're happy to work with you and talk through this with your student to help them make that decision if you'd like. One of the valuable tools that was mentioned earlier is the Common Data Set, and this is a great resource because this is a document that's published annually by the colleges, most colleges, and it outlines exactly what the universities and colleges consider in their admissions process. So it includes the testing policies, GPA ranges, and how academic and non-academic factors are weighed. And you'll find it by searching the colleges, by putting in common data set, and then the name of the college. So you can see that as an example for Gonzaga. The second thing we offer is through Naviance. Our scattergrams are really useful. They're a powerful tool because it gives you a visual to allow your students to see the historical Bellarmine data for our students' admissions. Students can compare their GPA and a test score with other students who have applied to the same colleges. And I think our data goes back like 10 years or more. So scattergrams are not predictors or guarantees, but it's gonna help you understand just how competitive a school might be based on that Bellarmine data. And then if you go into Naviance, you'll find it under the colleges tab, and then you click find your fit, and you'll see scattergrams. Also in Naviance, you can see the national data too, so that's great. So testing timeline recommendations. Most students don't have a concrete college list at this point to know whether or not they're going to need to submit a test score. So we recommend that you secure a test date, independent of Bellarmine if you can, in the spring of the junior year for both SAT and ACT if possible. It is competitive, and the spaces are limited. I know I tried to register my son for an ACT, and I could not find one within 80 miles of here from this point through the spring and fall dates. So if you can't find a test date that's available, a test site that has any more openings in the area, students do have free access to practice taking the SAT and the ACT on their official websites. And this allows them to determine which test better suits their strengths. They're full on tests, and there's also just sample questions available. Often students will do 25% better on one test than the other. Then students should practice whichever test they're going to do better on. Start getting access to those questions and prep for the test to improve their score. And then we will test them in the spring here at Bellarmine if you haven't found an independent site. And you may again want to choose another independent site when the new dates are released. They release them in the summer for the summer and fall, making sure that you secure a test prior to the admission deadline that your child is applying to. There are so many ways to prepare for these standardized tests. You can see this list here. And what works best is really going to vary and depend on your student. So options include the self-studying. You can do Khan Academy for free that's linked with their PSAT. Online tutoring, there's one-on-one tutoring, small group tutoring. We offer a boot camp coming up. There's prep books, you name it. It depends on your budget and time commitment and how important it is to you. So the data does show, though, I want to emphasize that prep really, really improves scores. We can see an increase often of 150 points on an SAT test and sometimes more, as well as 2 points on the ACT, and it could increase more as well for that one. We are hosting another Tutors Across America boot camp coming up. You will see that date there on March 27th through the 28th. It's designed to give your student half of a test for ACT and SAT on Friday. Saturday, they return for an all-day session of learning tips and tricks and insider helpful things. Then on Sunday, they'll continue prepping and again take another half of an ACT and an SAT to see how they improved. So it's great for offering familiarity to students and getting them comfortable with the tests prior to those spring test dates. Mimi Beck is also offering another option if your student would like to do tutoring in small group. She's currently offering 2-hour sessions for 9 weeks at a time through April. And all these options and more are listed on our resource page that was attached to a reminder email I sent out today for this parent night. You can access many of those through that. It'll give you the websites or the point of contact and information you need to register. You may have also received postcards in the mail more recently. So PSAT data overview here, give you a chance to glance at that. Here you're gonna see the PSAT data compared to national averages. This data really is helpful to understand trends and identifying students who may qualify for the National Merit Recognition Program. While scores, you'll see they dip slightly compared to last year's averages. But we still continue to see the Bellarmine students performing better than the national averages. PSAT results are purely diagnostic. Also, in nature, they help guide your preparation and help you know how you would do in future testing. But I mean, do not worry when you see these scores. They are a lot lower than 1520, the maximum score. Don't worry, because colleges never see this. This is a practice test. And the National Merit Scholarship Program is an academic competition for juniors based on their PSAT score that they took in October this year. Roughly the top 3 to 4% of students in each state will receive recognition, and the top 1% get to move on to semifinalists. If you have one of those students, they will be notified in September and of their senior year. So those will advance, must complete an application, they write an essay, and they'll take another SAT to continue in the process. So just some final reminders here. Remember that students can retake the SAT and ACT multiple times. Often students will see that after a few times, the scores tend to peak, so keep that in mind. Many colleges will super score to give you the best overall score. And that's, as Claire mentioned, going to take one of the subtest scores from one date and the best subset score of another date and combine them for that super score. Although some colleges might, as she said, take all the scores at once or choose only one. So it does vary. Gotta look into that. Bellarmine is gonna offer that digital SAT on April 22nd in-house. So you can be sure that you have at least one test date available. Since many sites are closed for the registration, we would like to have all students register for this at our school if possible. Just to be safe, not knowing what that college list looks like. They can have at least one score in their back pocket. There will also be one more final opportunity to test coming in October in the fall. So keep in mind timing matters, and especially with the application deadlines, you're going to want to make sure that your student score is available and ready to be sent to the university prior to that college application deadline. And so lots of information. Remember, we're just here to partner with you through this whole thing. Hey, Mr. Scott. Maddie.
Well, hi everyone. I'm going to be brief. I'd like to provide examples through some of my slides, so hopefully that's going to help. I know we're probably overwhelmed with a lot of information, so I'll just remember that. This is just kind of a recap on a lot of what Claire talked about. So we have about 100 colleges come throughout the year, and we talked about how it was important for students to meet the admission counselors. Well, I think that it's crucial and critical for students to do that. I'll give you an example. One of my students, I told her, she was really nervous about what school she was applying for. I said, you have to meet the college admission counselor. I think it's really important. This school comes here. They're from California. Let's say that. Come from California. They're here every year, and she came to me the other day, and she said, guess what, I got in, and she was really excited. I said, you met with her? Yes, absolutely. Did she know your name? Yes. I think we stress that, but just in general, just as a good policy, that students will do that when they sign up. And we have an easy process, it's Naviance, as you guys have heard about Naviance. You sign up on the website, there's college visits, and then you just sign up there. We ask that the students have a note, so they're excused from their class at the same time, but we think that's really a good process for them. But we really want to stress that, make sure you're meeting the college counselor. I know that Claire talked about that too. You're making an impression, just like any job interview. Once the college counselor goes away, they make sure that they sign the form. They're going to remember the name and face all the time. So anyway, I think that's a good idea for students. In addition to that, dressing up really nice, right? Being professional, I think is important too. Okay, we also talked about visiting campuses and the time to do it. So obviously, we want students to go there, or parents to go there with their students when school's in session, preferably. Now we know that sometimes traveling to the East Coast is difficult, so we don't, it's not required, of course, but it is important that, spring break, 3-day weekends in August while school's in session. I don't think it's fun to see it as much in the summertime when, no one's around. We talked about virtually signing up too, which is really important. Quite a bit less than going to the campuses. And again, it's not required. I just had a student that visited quite a number of schools. She applied to Notre Dame. She got in Notre Dame, really exciting. And I asked her, I was like, oh, did you already visit the campus? She's like, no. I think that was kind of like something that she was going to see when she applied and got in, and they might actually visit there or not and just show up afterwards. So some of the schools, a lot of students are not planning for, but just something to think about too. So also just considering registering on the website, right, is a good idea. They do have some tours that are scheduled at certain schools. And I think the last thing is just finding the fit for school for your student too. I think now is a really good time for doing that. Naviance is a good tool. We have other great resources. Obviously, talking with us is helpful. I like to use a really great resource called Niche. Some people say niche, tomato, tomato. But a great resource just to see, just plug in a school. It'll give you a bunch of great data. There's a link to the actual website. You can compare schools. It ranks schools according to their little metric, which I think is really helpful. NICHE, by the way, and a lot of people are using that. So it's like I said, a really useful tool for students and parents. Okay, college fairs. So there's 4 on here. I'll just talk you through some of the things that we have. National Association for College Admission Counselors, that's the big one. okay? So we already had that, I want to say it was in October, and that's where about 200 colleges come to the Seattle area. Most likely it's going to be every year. And so, but they do have a virtual fair that they're going to do. I think it's going to be February 1st, March 1st, April 20th. There's a website for that. It doesn't have a lot of the schools on the virtual tour, but it's a good place to see a lot of schools from in the Northwest, or sorry, not the Northwest, the West Coast, Montana. I've seen it there. A lot of California schools. So that's a good place to go to check out schools online, virtually, with admission counselors. The other one is called PANACAC. So that's the Pacific Northwest Association for College Admission Counselors, okay? And that one is going to be coming up. I think it's about 80 or so colleges, give or take. That's going to be in Seattle around April 25th. I think that April 25th is going to be in Seattle. April 26th is going to be in Portland. So a good chance to see some of the schools. There are going to be schools mostly from the Northwest, from Western, from Washington, Oregon. Some from close, like Montana schools are there as well. Our third one is called the JET Tour. Okay, so that's the Jesuit Excellence Tour. Happens in the spring. That's going to be around the same time, around middle of April, or around April 20th. I think Gonzaga and Seattle U are hosting it, right? Yeah, and so schools. So can anybody guess how many Jesuit schools there are in the country? You have a guess? You can guess, someone?
60.
60? Okay, a little bit lower. You guys know? There's 27, okay? So the schools that come here, actually this is really a neat thing. So, and Gonzaga comes, Claire comes as well. We have about, of the 27 schools, we have about between 12 to 15 schools. So some of the schools, Gonzaga, Seattle University. We go down the coast here, we have Santa Clara, University of San Francisco, Loyola Marymount, USD, University of San Diego, Regis University, that's in Colorado, and we get some of the East Coast too. Xavier University, that's in Cincinnati, College of the Holy Cross, and then some of our Loyola schools in Maryland, they come here as well. So some beautiful, amazing Jesuit schools are here. It's only for our juniors. So this year in the spring, they will get a chance to meet with some of those counselors. I say, make sure you're dressed up. Make sure you're talking to these counselors. They're here. They're coming all the way across the country. And again, just fantastic schools. Fordham sometimes comes as well. That's in New York City. That's where my favorite actor went, Denzel Washington, by the way. So that's the third one. So we'll make sure we tell our students that coming up. That's something to look forward to. The last one is that ARROW. That's the Association for Regional Representatives from Oregon and Washington. What we'd like to do is have all the reps come, and they're all stationed around our campus center here. The students can walk up and down and talk to them and get brochures. Again, another great opportunity to meet with, college admission counselors. And also our Oregon and Washington reps, sometimes they live here, but they represent schools outside of this area, even the Northwest. One I know came from New Hampshire. Remember, she gave me a nice shirt. And other schools in California, Redlands, I think, come. So again, tons of opportunities for kids to meet these folks. Okay, scholarships. This is what we want to talk about. Okay, fortunately, I don't know the secret to all the scholarships, but I will tell you that when students ask us, when they apply to schools, when they get their applications in, they usually find out about, what will be offered. I have many of my seniors right now It's like, hey, I saw you got into schools. Yeah, they offered me 30,000 here or 25,000. You know, once you get your application in, there's offers that come from the schools. Now, the other scholarships that I'm going to mention here, these are some of the national scholarships, the private scholarships that are outside of the school. And just remember, the students should be looking at their interests, their college choices, their goals, their achievements, their background. There's some tips here on getting started with the scholarships. You want to make sure you open a new email, specifically just for scholarships. Creating a spreadsheet, keeping that spreadsheet is important. And then creating accounts with the trusted free websites, which are these 8 that we share right here. I'm responsible for sending out information to about scholarships to the students. Once I get one that comes in, I usually will send that out to all of them. I will tell you that some of them are very specific, so make sure they're reading through it. The last one I sent out to all the seniors, over 225 I think we have, was a scholarship specifically in marine services. So there's a lot of these scholarships that sound interesting. They might be 5,000, 6,000, but they're kind of specialized. They would have to go into, so this scholarship, they would have to go into that particular major. I don't know a lot of students that do that in that major, but it's kind of hit or miss on a lot of these things. The ones here, Going Merry, FastWeb, Big Future, Student Scholarships, Washboard, scholarships.com, careeronestop.org, and both those are, again, national scholarships. The one that's more regional is going to be the Washington Board Scholarship, okay? More regional-based, Washington-based scholarships, focus mostly on the Washington schools. If you have any questions, feel free to email me and contact me about that, okay? Okay, and lastly, would your student like to be a collegiate athlete? I like to take time on that. They want me to rush through this. But remember, create a profile if you're interested. Any parents here have students that are juniors that are looking to go and play sports in college, be a student athlete? Okay. Great. So we have just currently, I've been doing some data with our athletics program. We have just over 40 students right now in the last 4 years that are still competing in D1, D2, D3 athletics, which is fantastic. It's over like the 2%, I want to say, which is a little bit more than the average score. We have a lot of students that are still involved. Some D1, D2, and D3. I didn't count the junior college students, but so that's really, really admirable. Make sure that if they're interested, make sure that they've signed up for the NCAA Eligibility Center's website, okay? Because once we get the transcripts, we upload them. We usually do that in the summertime, right after the second semester ends. You've signed a release with us too, just making sure that you have that information, that we have that information that we can send out their transcripts when needed, okay? And then we want you to consider, and we don't want people to spend a lot of money though, and I know that doing this can be very expensive. So collecting game film, if you have that, reaching out to programs. A lot of times students are reaching out to the coaches, particularly the assistant coaches, the recruiting. Building your resume, your athletic resume. There's a few websites for that. Utilizing the current coaches as a resource. Casting a wide net. And then, of course, another expensive thing is attending the campuses and the showcases. There's a lot of those camps that are going on as well. So lots of things. If you need any further information or any resources, feel free to reach out to me too. Okay, I think we're going to have Mrs. Ford, if you'll credit me.
Hello, Thank you so much again for being here with us. Just briefly want to touch on dual credit and AP because we are, I know it's kind of hard to believe, but coming up on students have to make choices about what they want to take next year. And we often get questions around what to take, what counts, right? What's going to count for college? How can I get the credit for dual credit or the credit for my AP coursework when I get to college? Claire mentioned already the idea of rigor, and that's really what I want to emphasize in terms of why to take dual credit or AP coursework here. So both options allow our students to take college level coursework while they're here with the possibility, and I want everyone to hear that, the possibility of earning college credit. The whys here again are the rigor, right? And also just the skills that students are learning, right, to prepare for college. So the critical reading, academic writing, problem solving, and time management skills that are going to be really valuable as a college student. Those are all going to be things that they're going to get in a dual credit or an AP class. The potential for college credit, right? You could reduce the number of courses that you need to take in college. Sometimes you can save time and money that way. All of those policies vary by institution. So this is, again, where we really want our students to research the schools that they want to attend to see what might count and what it might count for. So for example, sometimes some of our AP or dual credit coursework might count as an elective credit rather than as a credit in that particular course of study area. And students and families are sometimes surprised by that. That's not a bad thing, but it varies by institution, particularly out of state. So that's something to make note of as you're doing this college research, and maybe a good hint from a parent coaching our student along with their research. Take a look at that, especially if your student has already completed some of our dual credit or AP coursework here. Some of the differences here, the key differences, right? AP credits, it's based on that single exam that our students take here. Credit acceptance does vary widely, and your exam score matters more than your course grade in terms of whether that's going to count at the college level. Not here, of course. We want that grade and that GPA, right? Dual credit is earned through successful completion of the course. It appears on a college transcript. So our coursework is typically credentialed through Central and Eastern Washington. So those credits then, when you submit your transcripts, not when you're applying, but when you're asking for those classes to count at college, you'll have transcript from Central, a transcript from Eastern, and your Bellarmine transcript that you'll submit after you've been admitted. And that's when you'll know what the college is taking and what they're taking those credits as, right? What they're going to count as. These are the, behind me here are the credit, the dual credit and AP opportunities that we're currently offering at Bellarmine, and it's all available on the Bellarmine website as well. I want to talk quickly about kind of some of the potential drawbacks or things to just consider as you're helping your student decide what to take. And Claire again hit briefly on these before as well. But workload and stress, right? These courses move faster and demand a lot more independent work, so they might not be the right fit for a student that has a heavy extracurricular or co-curricular load, or that has a job outside of school or family obligations outside of school, right? Credit isn't guaranteed. Again, we always want to emphasize that with families so that that's not a surprise. Balance, right? Balance matters. So too many advanced classes at one time can limit our students' activities, right? Their ability to participate in the things that give them joy. That's what we want, right? Wellness. And then that meaningful engagement with their coursework, right? If we're taking our honors level courses, our AP courses, or our dual credit courses because we just want that to look good on a college application, rather than that study area is something that's really of interest to our students, we often see that they're not really engaged in that coursework, and then it becomes that slog, and then that's impacting their wellness and their mental health as well. And we want them to have a really great experience here at Bellarmine and be a well-rounded student. That is what's really going to count when we look at these college applications. That's what we heard from Claire, that's what we hear from admissions reps all the time. We want a well-rounded picture, a holistic picture of this student. This is just some of the data from, we don't have the 2025 data, so this is the 2024 data here, but just to say that Bellarmine, we do have a really rigorous program here, and ranking in the top 7% of the schools offering AP coursework. So we're pretty proud of that. So if your student, right, is ready for this advanced level coursework, if they are excited about taking things that are in their areas of interest, right, not all AP honors and dual credit coursework perhaps, we would love to help them look at that and decide on what to take, and we're doing a pretty good job of that with your students. So the big takeaways here, the goal would be thoughtful course selection, not more is better, and to encourage students to choose rigor that they can sustain, to maintain balance and wellness, and to select coursework that's aligned with their strengths, their interests, and their future goals. What's next? This is a quick review. Tawana talked about our required junior meeting. This is me very intently working with my student Sophia. But ideally, right, we want students to schedule these with us in February. So we're after finals, we will open up our calendars. All of our individual students will receive emails from us. They've already gotten reminders in their formation courses about this coming up. I already have a few very eager junior students that have scheduled with me. And these appointments are a really great chance for us to get to know our juniors a little bit more. They were all supposed to come in last year as sophomores. We didn't see all of them, which is okay, but we really want to get to know your student. It helps us help them and help you in building this college list, in making suggestions about coursework. And then when we get to the fall, there's not hopefully as many like last minute panicking moments about where we are in the process, because they've met with us, they've heard from us, they feel comfortable coming in and saying, for example, hey, Miss Ford, I didn't schedule my college meeting yet, even though I know I'm supposed to, but I didn't build a list yet, and I know I was supposed to, and I'm embarrassed about that. If you can come in and tell me that, oh, I feel like I've won as your counselor, right? Because that means that that relationship is there and we can work together and get you where you need to be. If you avoid me and avoid me and avoid me because you haven't ever talked to me and you think I'm very scary for some reason, right? Thank you. Somebody's shaking their head. Not scary, right? But if you're avoiding your counselor because you haven't done a step that you were asked to do over the summer, then we get into a place where we're in November and all of a sudden we are not in a great place in terms of success after Bellarmine. So we want our students to come in for these meetings. We really value the time with them, and it's fun for us. Like, that's the fun part, right? So please make sure that you are nudging your students to schedule with us after finals. It's really easy to do. We have a QR code, each of us on our outside door. We have a QR code right next to our inside doors. We will be emailing them links to schedule. They can come in and schedule with us in person. They could email us and say, hey, I can't get the QR code to work. When can I come in? We are here, we are ready to meet with your students, and we're really looking forward to seeing them in February. I'm going to introduce Maddie to close us out.
Okay, I get to talk about additional opportunities for your student. So getting involved in developing their interests, students should already be getting involved in developing their interests, but this is just a reminder that as they're finishing up their junior year and into their senior year, they should still be getting involved. This shouldn't necessarily be something new, but something that they should be expanding on. And some ways they can do this is through our clubs that are offered here at Bellarmine. We actually have 57 clubs that are here, so there is really something for everyone. Ministry opportunities is another great way. Helping out with retreats, and then of course campus activities. And then this year we are offering small groups for students. They are on different topics, and more will be to come about these. But this might be something that your students want to get involved in or have interest in. And then on this slide as well, you can see community activities listed. These are some examples of ones that students have been involved with in the past. And this is a great time for them to do research on other community organizations that they might have interest in. Of course, they can talk to all of us counselors here, and we are happy to help them with their research. This is also a great time for you to talk to your student and think of the connections you have in the community that you can help them get connected to. All right, and then summer programs. So this is the time of the year to start thinking about summer because it is coming up. And we have different opportunities they can get involved in, and we encourage them to do things that is in their area of interest. Some of that is through colleges. There's a lot of programs that's offered at different colleges. They can even earn college credit. They can do internships. We have provided a website, collegematchpoint.com, which is a great resource. It will show different programs and their directed interests and what college it's offered at, the cost of the program, what grade students need to be in to apply, and then when the application is due. And then travel abroad. We have a lot of different travel opportunities for students, and who doesn't love to travel? There is language immersion trips that happens. We have one in Spain and then one to France. We have a history and cultural trips. Those go to London and to Italy, and then we have Japan as well, and there is still space on the Japan trip, so if your student is interested in travel for the summer, they can still apply for that trip to go on. And then we have trips for service that they can do, and this year they are going to Panama, Costa Rica, and Guatemala. Those do change, but those are the 3 this year. There was such interest that usually it's one place, but they're going to 3. And then if they're interested for summer of 2027, that application will open up in September. Okay, so now we're just gonna recap for you on some of the really important things to think about for junior year. That is research colleges. This is a great time to make lists with your students of colleges that they might be interested in. Encourage your student to set up their junior meeting. This will happen after finals. That's coming up. All of us have those scheduled blocks open so they can, as Rachel had said, we have our QR codes. They can go in and schedule a time that works best for them. And then sign up for the in-school SAT at Bellarmine on April 22nd. And of course, if you decide to go elsewhere, make sure to look at that early because sites are limited and space is limited. And then choose a test prep option and encourage your student to study. And here are listed are some options that they can use. And then schedule college visits. Spring break is coming up, and that is a great time to start looking at colleges. Lots of colleges now do virtual campus tours, so if you decide to do that, you can do it from the comfort of your own home. And then stay informed, make sure to read our emails and newsletters that will be coming up because that will keep you up to date on everything. Thank you. Oh, sorry. I'll give you some time in case you are taking notes. This will be on the counseling tile in about a week, so you can review all this later as well. Don't worry, this information will still be there. Thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing you in the spring for Rising Senior Night and fall for Senior College Night. And we would love if you would take our post survey. If you scan this QR code, that information is super helpful for us. So thank you very much.